Now, let's move on with more of the specialist desks here at the SABC opening up their diaries. Action galore on the sporting front this week. Unexpected twists and turns, giving us plenty to discuss. As we normally do on a Sunday, we have roped in SABC News senior sports journalist Thando Mxoli to try and make sense of the issues around sport. Good afternoon, Thando, and welcome to the week ahead. Where are you, by the way? I did suspect that you were going to be gallivanting this weekend, and here we are.
Well, I'm in the Western Cape, out in Stellenbosch at the Stellenbosch Golf Club.
What did I say? What did I say?
To go on a fact-finding mission.
Oh,
I
really?
told about
now
the fact-finding mission.
That's what we call it now.
What it is. Yeah.
Okay, fact-finding mission.
Yes, Tulas.
I suppose even while you are there, then
Yes.
you were finding the facts about the Soweto derby as well. Go through it for me. It was carnage at FNB Stadium.
It definitely was carnage at FNB Stadium, Tulas. Basically, both teams went in there with big title ambitions. One would have walked away with the ego very bruised. A lot of question marks for the team from Naturela. Kaizer Chiefs really were nowhere in that one. Again, I think what really nice to see from Orlando Pirates was how they basically almost outsmarted Kaizer Chiefs. They were very compact on defense. Very effective on offense as well, and also the selections. A lot of the supporters have been crying about how Coach Wadu had almost deviated from what worked, and listening to Coach Wadu afterwards talking about the fact that in the week building up to this game, they had gone back to all the great things that they had done, even taking it back to the Jose Rivero days where they looked at all the great moments I had, and in that they almost said we need to go back to what worked for us and not lose our identity. And they found their identity in a big fashion against Amakosi yesterday. And it was a very good victory. Again, it makes a title race between Sundowns and Orlando Pirates very, very interesting.
Let's focus on Kaizer Chiefs for a moment. Their season seems to have unraveled, particularly in the last couple of weeks. Where are they missing the steps? Where have they missed the beat in your eyes?
You know, for me, one of the most critical things that Kaizer Chiefs did, in the off-season, Coach Nabi basically went on a scouting mission, found certain players that he thought would improve the squad. The very same Coach Nabi took the team to the preseason training. So again, everything was geared up for Coach Nabi's second season where he was supposed to thrive and almost show how good he is as a coaching team and the talent within his squad. Then, unceremoniously, the very same person who was the architect of this entire project was fired for reasons which are still very iffy to many people's eyes. Now the problem is all those grand plans, the person who created them is no longer there. And when there are problems that have come into the system, the person who created it would know where the shortcomings are with the squad. The person who scouted these players, he would know the strengths and the weaknesses of the squad. He's no longer there. So now we got two assistants who almost found themselves in it's the first time they've worked together, as far as I understand. So Coach Khalil, for example, is from Tunisia. Cedric is from Tanzania. They've never really worked together. The only common denominator with them was Coach Nabi. That decision has come back to haunt Amakosi in a big way in the sense that, again, the structure that they put into place, you don't take away the architect of the whole structure. Unfortunately, it's put them in a very peculiar position whereby you almost sit and say, do we plan ahead? Do we bring in a new coach? Or do we stick with these guys who, in terms of stats, have improved the squad? Chiefs have basically amassed more points in the league this season. Defensively, they've been better, but they're not competing for any trophy, which is the big thing. It's a big thing for a club of the size of Kaizer Chiefs.
Let's talk T20 World Cup for a moment. Tell me about the Proteas Zimbabwe. I mean, the sport, seminal sport, has already been bagged. Can the Proteas go all the way?
I think they can. I think I said to you last week that the one thing about this Proteas side is that there are key form players, both batsmen and bowlers, and that for me is always key in any team because you can always add to that. A lot of these guys have gone into this tournament with great form. Having seen the performances of your Lungingidis, your Aiden Markrams, your Ryan Rickletons, Quinton de Cox, you see that already that's almost half the team of informed players. Again, I think the temperament and experience will come into play. These guys have shown that on the bigger stages, they can literally perform and they can perform against the best in the world. We saw how they beat India without breaking a sweat. So again, I think there's hope in this team. They've made it to the semi-final. They have not been beaten in this tournament, so there's almost a perfect record. So again, they're building onto something that is great. I think they've got the momentum. They're one of the informed sides in the team. I've got lots of hope, at least for them to get to the final.
Yeah, and that's live cricket on the go at the moment. 153 for 7 was Zimbabwe. And according to this, what I'm looking at, 27 for 2 is where South Africa is. South Africa needing 127 runs in 94 balls to win. Let's talk about losses for the Stormers and the Sharks against the Lions and the Bulls. Your take on that?
Oh, I was surprised with the Stormers' loss against the Lions. The Stormers, for some reason, have not carried on the great form they've had in the start of this tournament. They really were the forms, not just form South African side, they're one of the form sides in the whole tournament. And somehow they've got weird losses like the one against the Lions. And they're just, for big parts of the game, the Lions were the better team by a sizable margin. Bulls and Sharks. The Sharks also, when Coach J.P. Peterson was in the temporary position, the Sharks almost were playing for something. Now it seems like they're almost creeping back into old bad habits, which does not help at all. But still, very good rugby on the park. We saw some top players in action. And again, top South African derbies, which for the fans, we saw like a crowd of almost 35,000 at Loftus Versfeld yesterday. That you can build on. That's how you get people back into this, interested in the local teams again. So I guess on that front there's a positives, but I think the coastal sides and the Sharks and the Stormers will be very worried about their performances this past weekend.
And lastly, Thando, let's get to your fact-finding mission. The reason why you are there on a fact-finding mission. Tell me about Casey Jarvis and him being the leader on round 3 of the SA Open.
You know, Casey is still in front at the moment. He's done exceptionally well. Look, last week Casey basically did even better when he won his maiden DP World title out in Kenya in Nairobi. And he's carried that form into this tournament. Hot on his heels as Henny du Plessis. We spoke to, my colleague Stacey Holland spoke to Henny du Plessis, and he talked about the challenges this course has basically brought out for all the top players. The wind has been a big factor. The one thing that's held out, though, has been the weather, in terms of the rain. But again, it's been a good tournament, well attended. We've seen some really big numbers, not just on the weekend of Saturday and Sunday, but from Thursday all the way to today, which is Sunday. It's been really well attended by the local community here, who've been starved of top golfing action for quite a sizable amount of time.
Yeah, all right. Happy fact-finding out in Stellenbosch, okay? Thando Mxoli, senior SABC News sports journalist there, giving you a sense of the big sporting action of this weekend and just recapping what has happened and some of what we're still watching as we wrap up the weekend.